Hi everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Form. This Saturday, July 1st, out at Gulfstream Park, they have a pretty big card featured by their 10th race, the Grade 3 Smile Sprint at 6 furlongs on the main track for 3-year-olds and upward. And looking at this Grade 3 event, field of 8 will go postward. Some big names, though. Dean Delivers, been a hard-knocking Florida bred for trainer Michael Yates and Stonehenge LLC. Willie Boy was able to win the 2022 edition of this race. Starship Renegade's an improving type. And a couple other interesting horses. Trainer Amador Sanchez sends out both the 2 and the 4, both Chilean breds coming off of either a bigger layoff and then Figueretti a little bit of a smaller layoff. Haven't seen that one since I believe April of this year. So interesting field of 8. We'll jump right in with the number 1. Dean Delivers. And look at his most recent performance. He ends up winning the big drama back on May 20th at Gulfstream Park. And so great to see him in the winner's circle, because when you look at his kind of winter campaign, a lot of close calls, a lot of big performances, with pace some really tough horses in those graded stakes races during the championship meet. And at this point, the race is on for second. It will be second will be claimed, I should say, by the number 5 Starship Renegade, who Dean Delivers will face once again. But I thought this was a huge performance. He ended up getting a career best Beyer speed figure of a 99. And even though he hadn't won a race since August, he was a very competitive type. As I mentioned, hard-knocking horse. I think looking at this race, there's a fair bit of speed. He's shown many, many times over and over that he can sit the trip just off the pace and make a late run. And I think having those 2 efforts at 7 ace and now cutting back to the 6 furlong distance should suit him well. He's yet to finish out of the top 2 at the distance, and I like that he's been able to go a little longer in those most recent efforts. The number 2, Totofino, we'll take a look at his most recent performance all the way back in October at Santa Anita. Just looking at this race, he's got speed. He showed speed in his first race at Del Mar back in September of 2022. And here, he's going to get some pressure in the stretch. You can see Hector Barrios is aboard him, giving him some encouragement here with the right hand stick. But the one is putting, kind of his run in as well, and is putting pressure to him. You can see Totofino almost getting out a little bit, shortening up, but he ends up getting the job done, going 6.5. His first start since coming from Chile was going 7 furlongs. Then he went to 6.5. I think 6 is probably better for him, but there's still other speed in here. You look at those fractions, though, we would say that he has California speed and was very quick in both of those efforts, but now he's had a little bit of a freshening as well. You look at his workouts, a lot of very fast workouts. He's had a lot of workouts as well. So interesting to note that. Some bullet drills, and most recently 47 and 2, but that was over a good main track back on June 25th. And the barn does very well from a limited sample with horses coming off this sort of length of a layoff of 6 months or more. The number 3, Doc Amster. This one out of the Jenna Antonucci barn. Jenna needs no introduction after capturing this year's Belmont Stakes with Arcangelo. And looking at this horse in her barn, got this horse between August of 2022 and the start of 2023. And he's yet to find the winner's circle. But I think last time out, he had some confidence kind of put back into his system. He raced a very good second behind Mish, who's been a nice horse for Safi Joseph Jr. This one only missed by half a length. But in terms of figures, he is going to have to step up. A lot of these other horses, we're talking about 90s to almost 100 Beyer speed figure. So he'll need a improvement. But it does seem Jose Morelos has been riding him well in those last 2 efforts. The number 4, Figueretti. This is the 2s. Totofino's stablemate, also trained by Amador Sanchez, was second last time out at Tampa in a 6.5 furlong event. Prior to that, he was third. He's been closing from off of it. You can see 3 starts back and even 4 starts back. They had him closer to the front. And in those last 2 efforts, he's been trying to close from off of it. He's been well defeated in both. The winner last time out was a 4-length winner, and he's been on the shelf for a bit. I think he's going to need to improve. I think obviously when you look at him and maybe you just compare him to a stablemate, the stablemate does look stronger. But if the pace is hot, maybe Figueretti can close towards the end. The number 5, Willie Boy. I alluded it to earlier. He was able to capture this race in 2022, and he hasn't been in the winner's circle since then. You can see his best effort would have been, since that effort, I should say, was on December 10th at Tampa, where he finished second behind Octane. Octane did very well in the Florida Sire Stakes, a couple of years ago at Gulfstream Park. But Willie Boy's last 3, they've been disappointing. But I think the big thing to note, he's getting back to Gulfstream. Not only did he win the Smile Sprint, you can do what you want with that effort, but he is 5 for 8 on the main track at Gulfstream. So all but one of his career wins have been on that surface. It is also interesting to note Jorge Delgado kind of moved his barn to Monmouth, but is bringing this guy back to Gulfstream. And I think that a lot just has to do with the surface. The number 6, Starship Renegade, we saw was second last time out to Dean Delivers in the big drama. an improving type. This is a 5-year-old that's only raced 8 times in his career, only been off the board once, and really it wasn't a bad effort. He was fourth, beaten by 3 1/4. He's been tactical in the past. He's been kind of close to the pace. And last time out, we saw him early on in that race. If you would have watched the whole replay, he only had one horse behind him early on and made a late run. I just think he's kind of an improving type and very intriguing. Has a big shot in this race on Saturday. The 7 Spankster. This one now joins the David Brady barn. Was previously trained by Dwayne Lucas. It's been a little bit since he's been in the winner's circle. The big question is, looking at his form, is there going to be a situation here where he's going to be able to close from off of it? He's a closer in some of his races. Last time out, though, they had him closer to the pace at Churchill going 7A. So I would say, though, he's going to come from off of it. And it's not only can he close, but can the speed in here kind of sustain their bit? I think he has his work cut out for him, but he does seem to be training well locally at Gulfstream Park. And Sonny Leon has the call. And then rounding out the field, the number 8, Big and Classy. This horse was bred by the Leblong family, and David Fox had this horse for a while. Actually made an appearance back in 2021 in the Florida Sire Stakes. And then from there, you can see, could have claimed him for $20,000. And that's what Bobby DeBona and owner Keith Johnston did. He won that race, and then he ended up kind of having a win streak after that. We'll take a look at his race that he won on the dirt most recently, back on May 27th. He ends up drawing off in this field. Now, the water's certainly not as deep as what he faced today, but to see a horse now win 6 races in a row and to be 6 for 6 in 2023 deserves at least a little bit of attention. He's been able to win on basically anything. He's like the Tapeta, he's like the dirt, and he put this field away. And since then, he's also picked up a win going 5.5 furlongs on the Tapeta. Now, the question, though, for him is class. It's crazy to think you could have claimed him for $20,000 and now he could be a grade 3 winner. So it'll be interesting to see how much tote action he'll take just based on his record and how easy he's won some of these races. But that's the field of 8 for the Smile Sprint. I went to the horse on the rail, the number 1, Dean Delivers. I've been a big fan of this horse throughout his career. I think he's been a consistent type who has just really held up against tougher competition than he will face today. That competition includes a second behind Sibelius, endorsed Wayburn. Really, really hard knocking horse. Was glad to see him win last time out. I think those sorts of wins are things to key in on. And I think the cutback to 6 furlongs should suit him well. The 6 Starship Renegade. I already kind of hinted at it. I'm intrigued by this horse. I think he's an improving type. I think he's a must-use here, at least in the exotics. From a pace perspective, then I went to the 2, Toto Fino. This is a horse that should be forwardly placed, could really be the pace setter in here. Certainly could maybe get some pace pressure from a few others, but I think if he wants the lead, he could maybe have it by himself and at least stick around for a share. He maybe could win the thing, but for me, the layoff was a little bit of the reason that I backed off of him. And then finally, the 5, Willie Boy. If I'm playing the exotics, even in trifecta, I would use him underneath. I know his recent form is dull, it's lackluster, but to see Jorge Delgado ship this horse from Monmouth back down to Florida to get him back to a track that he's, has 5 of his 6 career wins over, I think that could kind of be the thing that turns the light bulb on for him. I really think Willie Boy wouldn't be shocking at all to see him really put a big effort in after being off the board in his 3 performances this year. But for me, all in on Mike Yates trainee, the number 1, Dean Delivers, in this year's edition of the Grade 3 Smile Sprint. Best of luck.